This podcast was produced by OAR FM Dunedin with support from New Zealand On Air.
Welcome to My Business Stars, a podcast series featuring conversations with disabled business owners telling their business stories. Hosted by the Disability Business Network. Kia ora, I'm that blind woman, Julie Woods, from the Disability Business Network, host of the My Business Stars. And in the studio today, we certainly do have two stars. I'd like to welcome Kirstie Ussher.
Hello.
Welcome, Kirstie. We're going to hear all about your business very shortly, and it's exciting. And alongside Kirstie is her coach for the My Business Starter program, Sandra Budd. Welcome, Sandra.
Thank you, Julie. Kia ora, everyone.
It's great to have you both here. Kirstie, let's start with your business story and really thinking about where did it all begin?
It's hard to actually pinpoint like a tangible sort of starting point because I had different ideas along the way, but it was maybe about 2 or 3 years ago when I'd been in quite a deep state of deep rest. I was on a health sabbatical trying to overcome some health problems, and I just really wanted to get out of the rut that I was in. And in order to do that, I just started having like visions of what would be my dream life and how would I like to make a living. And I really had to visualize like what have I always wanted to do, and what will make me happy, what won't feel like work, what will actually feel like, living my passions. So I started trying different things and having the idea of how I could make a living doing things. And it initially started with wanting to be a yoga teacher. And so I did a few training courses and started teaching yoga nidra, which is a form of like deep rest meditation, and thought I could do something online and have an online business offering classes like this. And that was how I got into doing the first intake of the My Business, how to launch a business with your network. And that's where I had Sandra as my coach, and we worked through how I could actually do this. And then I started offering these classes, like community-based classes, and organizing it myself to see if this is actually something, if the idea would actually work in practice. Which was the best thing to do because I was organizing monthly classes for around 6 months. I then went to Bali and did a yoga training. And all in that time, I realized how much work that was and how hard that was on my health, my sensitive health, that I was trying to get better with. And I kind of realized actually it's going to be quite hard to do this full time. But in doing these things and in organizing the events, I realized how much I loved graphic design and actually making the flyers and doing the artwork. And then so that's when an idea took off, like, actually, why don't I try be an artist, and why don't I try, sell my art prints? And luckily I had the support of my older brother, who is an artist, and he kind of made me be quite positive about it. He said, this is a great idea. Like, you've got a talent, like, you really should work with this. And I really started focusing on doing it as a business idea, probably in December. It was once I got back from this Bali yoga training that I let go of that idea of being a yoga teacher. And I was like, right, okay, let's learn Photoshop. Let's focus on developing my art. And then one thing led to another. And then, this year I've been working really hard and opened my website and have opened my web store selling my art and prints.
It's such a great, there's so much in there, isn't there? And to me, it just strikes of letting go and embracing and a whole lot of emotions. And I guess, Sandra, as Kirstie's coach, you would have observed a lot of this.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it was the discussions that we had, Kirstie, because part of the program is to actually help us talk through your dreams and to work out the practicality of how that would work. And one of the things that you did talk about was wanting to make sure that it wasn't something that impacted on your health and that you were going to gradually work through that by gradually introducing yourself to your gathering and seeing how that worked. So to hear your story, because you talked about that and were really realistic about it during the coaching, and to now hear your story, how you actually realised that that wasn't the right direction that you wanted to go. But what I'm loving hearing is that you went back to something that you loved, which was you realised that you loved the graphic artwork that you were doing and pursued that because I think there are so many things, even in the name that you've chosen um, for your studio and for your business. I think really draws out what your intent was, particularly about that restfulness and having a natural pace to. It would be great to hear a bit more about how you chose your name.
Yeah, definitely. And I'm really glad to hear that that's sort of come across, from people that get a feel and get that slowness through my sort of like, branding and look and feel of it all. Because I'd been trying to slow down over the past few years, and that was my intention, and that's what I wanted to help people with in those yoga nidra classes. Then when that pivoted to do my artwork, that same message was coming through that as well. So that hasn't wavered, and I think that's what kind of keeps me going. Is it's like that core message and that core ethos that can move around. But I came into the name because the yoga nidra classes was sense of slow. And that was what I was, or sense of rest initially, then it went to sense of flow. And then that was what it is now. And then because my art was taking on that way too, I was, thinking of what to name it. And it just didn't feel right to name it myself. Like most, artists, they go by their name. And of course I go by my name, but I wanted to have something that was sort of more of like a little business that was something that encapsulated that slowing down. And then I have a thing with, I love Japanese culture and I like Japanese names. And I found the Japanese term for slowness, which is osoi. And that means sense of slowness, like going at your natural pace. And then I really liked the way it just, fitted and seemed right, Osoi Studio. And I was able to get the domain easy and stuff. So I was like, oh, it's meant to be. So, yeah. So I've gone with that. And I think it works.
It sounds very authentic, the story and the name. And I guess what's coming up for me is thinking about where does this strong desire to rest come from?
I think like I have a natural tendency just to do a lot, and like I got extremely burnt out and had ME for a long time and complications from surgery. And I think it was because like my body really didn't know how to rest, and I was just always on the go. And then I was forced to slow down, forced to stop work, forced to really reevaluate my life, and it became a sort of philosophy of how to slow down when the world is so busy and we're forced to kind of, they say like hustle culture, like work hard to, and as things are getting stressful in society, it does make people feel the pressure of, financial stress and stuff. And so, and it's something that I'm working with every day as well, because I do have that tendency naturally to take on too much, and I notice now like I feel those mini burnouts quite often, and so I constantly have to bring myself back to like what can I let go of, what am I doing too much, what am I taking on. So and now starting this, it's constantly in my awareness like, right, I have to keep my health as the priority, and I have to try and make it sustainable for my wellness. So, some people that maybe didn't have my my qualities, would be able to do a lot more and have the business as their main focus. Whereas I definitely have to have my health as the as a number one focus. So I have to let go of some things at the moment, and I can't do everything because it's just not feasible with my capabilities, and you have to be realistic as well.
And one of the things I've learnt from doing the My Business Stars podcast is that people with impairments acquire great strategies that I think lots of people could, employ and use, because I think it's such an important message, as you say, in this hustle culture that we have today, to be able to prioritise rest and well-being, which I think you're so aware of and you've nailed from where I'm sitting anyway. You're certainly totally aware of it. So what advantage then would you say your ME has given you in your business? Do you think it's this awareness or?
I think so. I think it's, now bringing back to the awareness of like, I can't be going at 100% all the time, and that I do need to evaluate my rest strategies every day. And I think, and I definitely am very sensitive to the signals. And so I will, if I notice I'm getting, a migraine or I'm getting very fatigued, like then I'll really have to pull back, and I'm quite good at saying no to things. And so I think it's just being better self-awareness to be able to say no and just realize like that's not so important. I just need to rest, and I can come back to that tomorrow. I think probably my previous self would have just like kept going all out of the night to do something if you felt like it was important, but really it can wait.
Sandra, what do you think?
Oh, look, I'm not surprised at all that Kirstie's come to this point, because it was something she was very aware of during the program and during her planning for her business, so that she didn't burn herself out. And what I'm loving about hearing your story sort of 18 months on, Kirstie, is that you've kept your vision. And we always talk about, keep your vision of where you want to be. And you've kept the essence of what you wanted your business to be, but you've pivoted. You've pivoted by learning that actually that wasn't what, the decision was that you'd made originally for your business idea, but your vision was still there that's helped you move to the business that you're in now. And just seeing your work and seeing the accomplishment that you've made, getting to where you're at now, says to me, you definitely feel that you're on the right path, because things are falling into place now.
Thank you.
That's wonderful. And speaking of visions, what is your dream for Osoi?
I think fundamentally, I would love to be able to make it my way of living, to be able to make beautiful art and to be able to help people fill their spaces with lovely art. And if I can be a part of that, then that would be an honor. And to be able to be, make a living from it, be able to be financially independent and live from this would be my dream. And continue to develop my practice with it. I think it would be, I'd be very grateful to be able to make a living from my art. It would be, lots of beautiful things.
It's wonderful to hear that. So what do you love about having a business?
I think at the moment it's a love, but it's also a bit of a, not a love, I wouldn't say a love-hate, but it's trying, like I've got to keep the vision of the love of it, even when it can feel a little stressful to begin with. But I think what I love about it is that it's like I've created this, so it feels like a part of me is now open in the world. And that's something I work towards, is now alive and something that I'd always wanted, I've created. And I think just being able to make my own decisions with it is really nice. So not feeling like I and not don't have the agency in what I want for it. I think it's like I'm making the decisions based on my values, not on a company's values. And working with the health thing, it's like I can take a rest whenever I want. I can, have a morning to stay at home if I want. I don't have to just have, 2 breaks a day if I'm exhausted. So I think that's been huge, to not feel burnt out from that.
Being able to listen
Yeah.
to your body and
Yeah.
being in charge yourself.
Yeah. Yeah,
For
definitely.
for the benefit of our listeners, would you like to describe some of your art?
Sure. So, what you'll find on my website, osoistudio.com, is you'll find art prints and original artworks. And the art prints I have made mainly with oil pastels and soft pastels, some colored pencil, and a mixture of sort of soft shapes and earthy but yet bright colors, um, which I'm influenced by a lot of just like nature shapes, and mainly what's from been outside my house. So a lot of ferns, a lot of leaves, the sun in circles, just really simple things and working together, just to create a sort of like natural flow and restfulness. And there's a lovely quote that I'm always influenced by from a American painter called Georgia O'Keeffe, and she says, fill the space in a beautiful way. And so whenever I'm creating art, I always think and I have that in my awareness as well as simplicity. So it's like, I don't want to overwhelm myself. I don't want to stress the paper out. I want to create a beautiful space. And so, yeah, that's what I'm working with, and when I'm doing everything. And in my original artwork, you can find I love to use like a handmade paper that has deckled edges, and then also using the oil pastels. So I really love texture, and creating different textural effects with those shapes, to give that softness and flow feeling to it.
Sounds beautifully gentle, like nature.
Mm.
Sandra,
Yeah,
what do you see in it, Sandra?
Yeah, well, I was just over talking you. I'm sorry. So I was just saying they are beautiful colours, and they're very soft and relaxing. I've looked at them all on the website, and they're lovely. And I can, as Kirstie's talking about it, I can understand what you're talking about the flow. And I love one of the ones that you've got, and I think it might be behind you at the moment in your room, and it's seek the peace and let the peace find you. And
Yeah.
it's done in with a beautiful soft blue behind it, sort of almost a sky blue with peace and, things finding you, standing out. So I love your artwork, and it's wonderful to see the creativity that's come that was part of your journey, and it feels like it's an essence of you, and and to have been doing it in that way that gives that feeling of peace and slowness. Whereas I'm sure at different times you're quite busy, but
yeah, that's right.
Yeah, it's
we'll call you a magician and a painter.
Exactly.
Kirstie, there's a lot of support that goes on in having a business. You've already mentioned your brother. Is there anyone that you'd like particularly to say thank you to for supporting you in your business so far?
Yeah, definitely my brother, definitely you guys. I think being a part of that course at the beginning just gave me so much confidence and just basic knowledge to see that it was possible. And I think that is so essential because you can get caught up in the romanticism of having a business, and I think you've got to learn the basics. So yeah, I feel really honored to have been a part of that. So thank you to you both in Selwyn. So that's been great, and to still be a part of the community as well. So I think that's really important, is to keep up your networks and even if communication comes and goes, it's just nice to be a part of that network and feel like you're connected to others who support you and that you can also inspire at the same time. Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. And we feel that's the purpose of the network too, inspiring one another. Sandra?
Oh, no, where we talk about being part of the alumni, and you're one of the alumni, and we know that you're willing to share. And one of the things that we're delighted that you're sharing is how you actually gained funding, because gaining funding as a startup is one of the really difficult things. And you managed to do that. Have we got time, Julie?
No, we haven't, Sandra. We're going to have to get you guys back and do another conversation and interview, because we have reached the end, and just like to acknowledge you on that, Kirstie, for getting funding, for starting with an idea, exploring it, going in a different direction and ending up where you are. It's just amazing to hear you talk about that. So where is it that people can find you, Kirstie?
So you can reach me on my website, which is www.osoistudio.com. And I am on Facebook and on Instagram, which you can get me through the website. That's probably the easiest thing, because the Instagram handle's got underscore between Osoi Studio.
Okay.
So you can find me that way as well.
Do you have an email address?
Yes, that's hello@osoistudio.com.
Great. Thank you. Well, thank you for joining us and sharing your story. Thank you, Sandra, for coming along and supporting Kirstie throughout the program and today as well.
Thank you, Julie. Thank you, Kirstie.
Thanks for asking me to be on here. It's been a pleasure to talk to you both.
Well done for saying why not. You've been listening to Kirstie Ussher and Sandra Budd on the My Business Stars podcast, and special thanks to CCS Disability Action, our sponsors. The Disability Business Network is the only business network in Aotearoa, New Zealand, dedicated to business owners who live with an impairment. If you are disabled, own your own business, and would love to mix with people who look like you, then join us today at the Disability Business Network. You can find us at disabilitybusinessnetwork.org, or you can contact that blind woman, Julie Woods, on 021 913 513, or email julie@thatblindwoman.co.nz. At the Disability Business Network, we believe in disabled people being successful in their own businesses and becoming business stars.
This podcast was produced by OAR FM Dunedin with support from New Zealand On Air.